Intro. If you are a Leo, you already know what I am about to say. And you have never heard anyone say it this clearly. You have spent your entire life being told you love attention. That you are dramatic. That you need to be the center of the room. And some part of you accepted that story because it was easier than explaining the truth. But here is what no one has named: what Leo actually runs on is not vanity. It is a specific psychological phenomenon that therapists call approval-contingent self-worth. The need for external validation so deeply wired into identity that without it, the self feels structurally unstable. Most people who know a Leo have felt this without having a word for it. Stay with me. Because later in this video I am going to reveal something about Leo's relationship with their own ego that will reframe everything you thought you understood about this sign. It is the part they will never say out loud. Not even to themselves. The core identity. Leo is a fixed fire sign ruled by the sun. And that matters more than people realize. The sun does not orbit anything. It does not adjust its position to make others comfortable. It simply radiates, and everything else arranges itself accordingly. That is the Leo operating system. At their best, Leo is the most life-giving presence in any room. They possess a natural gravitational pull, not because they demand it, but because they generate warmth the way a star generates light. Involuntarily. Constantly. It is not performance. It is physics. The core Leo identity is built around one central need: to matter. Not just to be liked. To be significant. To leave a mark. Leo does not fear death the way other signs do. They fear being forgotten. They fear a world that moves on without noticing they were ever in it. This is why Leo invests so heavily in presentation, in legacy, in loyalty. Every grand gesture, every carefully curated entrance, it is not narcissism at its root. It is existential self-defense. The dark side. Now let us talk about what goes wrong. When Leo's need for significance goes unmet, something shifts beneath the surface. The warmth curdles. The generosity develops conditions. Leo begins keeping score without admitting they are keeping score. They give lavishly, yes, but they are watching. And if the acknowledgement does not come back in the right amount, at the right volume, the resentment builds quietly and completely. Leo can be the most loyal person in your life until the moment they decide you took them for granted. And then they are gone. Not dramatically. Not always with a confrontation. Sometimes just a slow withdrawal, a cooling, a door that closes so quietly you do not notice until it is locked. There is also a control dynamic that rarely gets discussed. Leo does not control through manipulation the way Scorpio does. They control through being irreplaceable. They position themselves as the sun in your solar system, and then they make sure you feel the cold when they pull back. It is masterful. And it is often unconscious. The shadow of Leo is entitlement wrapped in generosity. The belief, unspoken and sometimes unexamined, that their presence is a gift the world should be grateful for. Retention peak. But here is the part nobody talks about. Leo's greatest fear is not being unloved. It is being seen as ordinary. And that fear is so powerful, so structurally central to who they are, that Leo will sometimes sabotage genuine intimacy to avoid it. Because true closeness means being known. And being known means being seen without the performance. Without the light. And in that quiet, unguarded place, Leo does not always know who they are. The applause has been so constant for so long that silence feels like erasure. So they keep the spotlight on. They keep the drama alive. They keep you slightly off balance. Not because they are cruel. Because stillness is where they have to face the version of themselves that has never been enough, and that version terrifies them more than anything the world could do to them. In relationships. Leo in love is one of the most all-consuming experiences in the zodiac. They do not fall quietly. They fall like a declaration. Champagne and theater and genuine, overwhelming devotion. When Leo chooses you, you feel chosen. Capital C. And for a while, that feeling is intoxicating. But there is a test that comes, and most people do not see it coming. Leo will, at some point, pull back slightly to see what you do. It is instinctual, not calculated. They are measuring your pursuit. Your effort. Your proof that they matter to you as much as you matter to them. Fail the test and the relationship enters a slow freeze you may not understand until it is too late. Leo needs a partner who can hold their own. Not someone who competes, but someone who does not collapse. Someone who can say, sincerely and without flinching, "You are extraordinary," and then walk into the next room and be extraordinary themselves. Leo does not actually want a mirror. They want a worthy audience that sometimes steals the show. In friendship, Leo is fiercely protective, almost tribal in their loyalty. But they need to feel like the relationship has weight, has history, has meaning. Small talk bores them. Superficiality offends them. They would rather have 3 people who show up completely than 30 who show up halfway. What they need to hear. Leo, your worth is not a performance review. You do not have to earn it every morning. The exhausting thing about approval-contingent self-worth is that it never fully resolves. Every validation you collect only holds for so long before you need another. It is not a character flaw. It is a wound dressed up as confidence. And recognizing that is not weakness. It is the most courageous thing a Leo can do. You are allowed to be seen without being spectacular. You are allowed to have a bad day without it meaning something about your value. The people who are actually for you do not need the performance. They are there for the person underneath it. And here is the hardest truth. The version of you that sits in silence and does not know what to say, that version is not lesser. That version is real. And real, for Leo, is the rarest and most powerful thing you can offer anyone. OUTRO. Leo is not simply the sign of ego and drama. Leo is the sign of a soul so terrified of insignificance that it built an entire sun around itself just to stay warm. That is not arrogance. That is architecture. That is survival. Understanding Leo means understanding the difference between a person who loves the spotlight and a person who was afraid of the dark. Sometimes they are the same person. They usually are. If this reached you, if something in this video named something you have been carrying without language, then you know what to do next. Subscribe to Astrea Zodiac for daily cosmic intelligence. This is your universe speaking.